So just what is prototyping? Prototyping is the fine art of fabrication, physically making something that does not yet exist except in your mind. In our case, you are designing and building robots from scratch, robots which do not yet exist. So it's the art of getting the robot, which exists only in your mind, into a physical, functional form. Generally speaking, prototyping also involves research and development, but not always. So in this course, we will walk through the research and development, or R&D, process as well, because it is such a critical component of prototyping. Though for most of you as home hobbyists, you won't actually wind up doing R&D directly. But some of you may wind up in industry doing just that, so we'll cover it. Prototyping and R&D is expensive in time and usually money as well. Usually you can trade money to save you time, but in the end, just know what you are getting into. It is going to cost you. That first silly little robot that I made at the science fair out of cardboard, plastic, and metal took me hundreds of hours to build, partly because I was learning everything as I went. This was all new to me. And because I didn't know any of the tricks of the art that I'm going to share with you, tricks which save you both time and money. And also because I didn't have access to the technologies so common today. Each of my submarine robots usually cost me about $1,000 and typically 300 to 500 hours worth of work. While I knew a lot more at this point in my life, prototyping still costs time and money. While building the 4th generation sub, I bought a 12-volt TV VCR combination unit, which was $1,000 on its own. The motors that I used, electric trolling motors, cost me about $300 a piece. The 5th generation sub used a lot of metal in its construction, and I was learning CNC machining to make all of those parts. So I was getting an education at the time as well. And this all cost me more time than money. So now you can get a better grasp of a little bit of the pain I experienced every time there was a failure in my submarine design. You can imagine how, after so much time and expense, I'm finally diving down to the bottom of a dark lake for the first real dive with my submarine robot. And I'm looking intently at the TV screen, and the bottom of the lake jumps up at me and startles me. And I can even see a couple of clumps of seaweed, even as deep as it was. And I'm thinking, cool. But there was these strange wavy things in the sides of the field of view. Like, what is that? And then I watch as water fills up the interior and the water line coming up above the lens on the camera. And I'm slamming the power switches on the controller, trying to cut out all power in hopes of saving the camera. The failures are painful and frustrating. But they are educational. Expect failure, as it is an essential part of the prototyping process. In fact, as I was writing this lesson, of the scores of devices I have prototyped over the decades, both for myself as an amateur and professionally, where the livelihood of multiple people was now counting on my performance, I could not think of a single instance where a device I prototyped worked right on the first try. So expect failure and plan on it as an important part of the craft of prototyping. In fact, forget the age-old adage, failure is not an option. When it comes to prototyping, failure is the only option.